Hello everyone, this is David, and tonight's film that we watched is the 1996 film Tremors 2 Aftershocks. Yeah, that's right, we're doing direct sequels right now. So, this is an interesting film in that it continues the story of Tremors, but it also basically it continues where Tremors left off, but also it adds a new twist on it. So if it was just Graboids, again, I mean, we've already seen the Graboids, and they were pretty impressive creatures in the first movie. But again, it's something we've already seen. So how are they gonna change it up? How's it gonna be different? Well, as becomes a recurring theme apparently in all the Tremors movies, every time they make a new movie, they upgrade the Graboid somehow. And man, these things have a really complicated and weird life cycle. It just doesn't make any sense. Like I don't understand how these things went extinct or anything, but suffice to say, in this movie, the worms are just their first, as far as we can tell, stage. And at a certain point, they break open, and these little things called shriekers come out. And the shriekers they no longer burrow underground. They're bipedal for some reason. I don't know how an invertebrate could run around bipedally, but apparently it can. Um, they're they're basically like the worms in a lot of ways. They're more like a wolf pack now than like a solitary worm hunter. So they can see heat now instead of hearing vibrations. But I call into question some of their methods of doing things. So when they see something, they have a little thermal sensor on their head, and when it kind of like rises up like a crest. And when they see something that they like, they scream. But apparently, this version of them is deaf, or at the very least, the reason they scream is because apparently that releases body heat, and that's how they signal each other. I honestly don't know how that would work, but okay, whatever. It's it's their reasoning behind why they do what they do, and so that's the new monster in the movie. The Shriekers really aren't that impressive. Again, they're above ground now, so you can see them coming pretty much, unless it's dark out. Um, they're sensitive to heat, so once you figure that out, you can trick them pretty easily. Hide behind an object or whatever. They're not particularly cunning like the worms used to be. It's kind of strange. It almost feels like they went backwards, but this film, like many sequels before it, is not as good as the previous film. Kevin Bacon doesn't come back. We do get Fred Ward, which is nice, but there's no Kevin Bacon, so in terms of star power, we ain't got a lot. So I mean, it's a sequel. It's a made for TV, or not made for TV, but I think it's like a direct to video sequel to Tremors. So you're not gonna get amazing things. It was decent. It was acceptable. It wasn't not nearly as good as the first one. The first one's kind of, I don't want to call it a timeless classic because it's not. It's by no means a perfect movie, but the special effects in that movie hold up pretty well, and it's just a fun all around monster movie. Like there's nothing not to like in the first movie. There's a couple scares. There's some fun. Like there's some comedy moments. The monsters are inventive, and just the hijinks that happen is a lot of fun. This one, it's middle of the road. Honestly, it's watchable certainly, but the fun and like intimate relationship between like Earl and Val, it isn't there. There's a Val replacement in the form of Grady, and for what it's worth, he's okay. But again, he's just the idea is like Grady just shows up and is befriends Earl, and so they kind of have this budding friendship, kind of like just now starting, and you don't really get to see like they don't have the years of working together that the other two did. So it just isn't the same. I mean, Bert's back in this movie too, which is always good to see Bert. He's great. Michael Gross is great in all the Tremor stuff, and he's in pretty much every Tremors related thing I don't know what else he's been in, but he's in every Tremors related thing. He's in all 4 of the movies, and he's in the entire. He's basically the main character of the television series, which maybe someday when I start doing TV series, if I do them, we'll talk about that. But anyway, we've been kind of rambling on and on about things, and we should get to the plot about now. So the plot is pretty simple. Graboids show up for no reason given for why they're here, but they're attacking oil fields in Sonora, Mexico. And that's a problem because, Graboids eating people. So the oil company goes to Val originally, but you don't get to see it, to ask him if he wants help, and then they go to Earl. And Earl doesn't want to do it at first. He's like, no, I was in this situation before, I didn't like it. And Grady comes in with Senor Ortega, the representative of the company. And Grady basically sells him on it because Earl is not doing so well. Like everything that he got a lot of stuff from the fallout of what happened in the first movie. Well, he kind of got a lot of stuff. Like you get the feeling that like he had some money at one point, but he made some bad investments, or he didn't get as much as he should have, and he just isn't doing so hot right now. So he decides, fuck it, I'm not doing anything else. We can do this. So they go down, and Grady decides he's going to be his assistant. So they go down to Mexico. They meet the other characters in the form of Julio and Kate, and there's one other guy that I don't remember his name. Pedro, but he's like kind of minor character, all things considered. Like I think he has only like 2 or 3 lines of dialogue. Honestly, the only main character there is Kate. She's the romantic interest for Earl. Pretty obvious at this point. She's a geologist who's studying the Graboid. Well, not really studying the Graboids, but she works for the oil company. I'm assuming helping them with whatever they need in terms of science being done. I'm not really 100% behind. Well, I'm not really 100% behind what oil companies do when they're drilling for oil, but I know there's a lot that goes into it on account of there's all that like hydrofracking and just knowing where the oil is, I suppose. So anyway, she was working there, and so they basically, the Mexican military let them have whatever they needed to hunt the Graboids because these things are a serious menace. So, and in addition to whatever it is they got, because you don't get to find out just yet, they got equipped with basically ground-based sonar is what it basically turns out to be. It's basically like this little box that sits in the car, and it shows them their car, and any Graboids that come by will trigger seismographs, and it will display like that as like a little like blip on the radar effectively. But it's kind of like it's like basically a ground sonar, even though that's not exactly what it is, and I don't think it would work that way, but whatever, it's fine. It's interesting. It lets them see where the Graboids are, and so they can know when they're about. So Grady and Earl go out hunting, and they're getting paid quite a bit of money to fight to kill these Graboids. And the secret weapon is an RC car with explosives linked to it, which works pretty well. They kill a bunch of Graboids, way more than were even in the first movie. They kill like 15, just like all in a montage of them blowing them up. And what ends up happening is at one point, Grady leaves the radio on the ground. A Graboid eats the radio, and next to the radio was the chain that he put on the back of the car to make more noise to attract them more, kind of like a lure, if you will. And it basically grabs the truck and takes it on a crazy ride through the wilderness. And they end up getting hung up on a set of rocks, and they get attacked by like 50 Graboids. Like they all just they see the seismograph and it's going nuts. So they're like, we got to call him Bert. So they go back, they recoup back at the facility, and they see something crazy on the seismograph, and it turns out it's Bert's truck, and he shows up, and he's like, "Hey Earl, how you doing? This is the new guy." And he's like, "Yep." And Bert has a military truck filled to the brim with like all sorts of crazy explosives and whatever. And he shows off his cool Chekhov's gun in the form of this anti-tank rifle that he built in his spare time. Also, Heather has left Earl, or not Earl. Heather's left Bert because the fall of the Soviet Union. Bert did not do well with that, and he basically is living alone in his basement, doing whatever gun survivalists do. Alright, so they keep they keep going back and forth. Bert is using tanks instead of little RC cars, which I think is funny, like little tiny remorque RC tanks, which is cute. Also, he's using C4 as opposed to dynamite, which may or may not be better. I honestly don't know. But they kill a bunch of the worms, and then Grady and Earl get knocked off the road by a Graboid that comes up under them suddenly, because they're following a Graboid and just sort of going off in a direction it's not really attacking, which they've never known Graboids to do. So they wreck their truck, and there's a Graboid like 10 feet from them, but it's just howling, which again is unusual behavior. Turns out, night falls, and they were going to send Pedro out with the truck to winch the Graboid out, because it doesn't seem to be attacking, so it doesn't seem to be dangerous at the moment. So they send Pedro out with his truck, and they hear the thing scream, and they go silent. And they look at it, and they see Pedro's truck, and then they see Pedro's truck stop. And they look at the Graboid, and the Graboid is like exploded from the inside out, basically. And they're trying to figure out what's going on. And they're going all around, and they get to the truck, and they find just Pedro's arms on the back of the truck. Like, that's all that's left of him. And they end up at the radio tower, making their way back, because they also trashed the truck. They go into the radio tower. Or no, they go to the radio tower, find it all torn up. And that's when they first see the Shriekers. They kill the Shriekers. Or they kill two Shriekers? Because there's one that was like attacking the car. There's one that comes out. And they get back in the morning to the oil place where they're based out of. And a Shrieker kills... what's his name? I can't remember his name all of a sudden. Julio. Rips off his leg, and apparently that's fatal, so he dies. And Earl and Grady kill it. And they kill another one on top of the truck. Oh yeah, and meanwhile at night, Bert gets ambushed by all of the rest of the Shriekers. Like, Earl and Grady get away, but Bert gets ambushed by them. So that's no good. So the next day, Earl and Grady pull that off, and then Bert comes in. His truck's all messed up. He's all out of ammo because he's basically killed all of the Shriekers by himself. Turns out one of them was just stunned, so he captured it and tied it up. And they're studying it to try to figure out how it works. They kind of figure out it can see heat, doesn't hear sound at all, doesn't react to sound, doesn't react to movement. It's basically blind and deaf, which is kind of weird. In addition, whenever a Shrieker eats something, it reproduces itself. It basically vomits out another Shrieker. No idea how that works, but that's what they do. Apparently, they can have like 2 crackers, and then binary fusion ensues. Kind of reminds me of the Silkates from Island of Terror, almost. Except, at least with the Silkates, it was every 12 hours? Or 6 hours? Something like that. It was every increment of time they would go through binary fusion and make 2 of themselves out of 1. But this one, they just eat until they make another one, which is like 2 bites of a cracker. It's ridiculous. Meanwhile, there was another one that was underneath it basically caught up in the bottom of Bert's truck, and it falls out, finds his MREs that he has, starts eating all of them. And before they know it, there's like 1,000,000 of them. So they go back and forth, and they don't have any weapons. There's one on the truck. Bert shoots it, blows it up, but it also takes out the car that they were going to drive away in. So now they're stuck. So what are they going to do? Well, they're going back and forth. They get chased around. A bunch of them end up on top of some like canisters, basically. Not canisters, but it's like almost like an oil tower or something like that. And Bert ends up in the scoop of like a front end loader, which is a problem. And until the Graboids decide that the Shriekers decide that they're gonna piggyback on each other to try to get the people on top of the tanks. What ends up happening after that is they end up running away. They end up getting behind a building. Or wait, no. They end up tricking all of the guys into one building and lock them in. And it turns out that thing's filled with food, which they start eating like ridiculous. And so what ends up happening is Earl ends up covering himself, getting hit with a fire extinguisher. So he's covered in like a sheet of frost, and goes through there, goes into Bert's truck, finds a bomb, throws a bomb down. The Shriekers start to notice him because he melts pretty quick. Because I mean, again, they're out in the desert. And when he tells Bert that he threw a bomb in his truck, he tells them all to run. They first get behind like this wall that's like right next to the thing. He's like, no, we gotta go. It's gonna be huge because I've got like thousands of pounds of explosives. So they run and they get into like this ditch, and the explosion just levels everything. And the movie ends with Grady and Earl working, like Grady suggesting to Earl, hey, we should make my Monster World, Grady and Earl's Monster World, and it'll be awesome. And that's how the movie ends, with them kind of walking off into the sunset. All in all, again, this is a kind of middle of the road movie. It's not bad. If you liked the first movie, you'll probably like this movie. If you didn't like the first movie for whatever reason, you definitely won't like this movie. If you like the Graboids, it's pretty good. The Shriekers are okay as monsters, but honestly, like, the Graboids really suffer some villain decay in this one. In the first one, 4 Graboids were a real threat. In the second one, they killed like 30, 40 Graboids, no problem. And it just isn't a big deal at all. Like, the Graboids don't figure it out or anything. So, I don't know what's up with that. But that's just the way it seems to be. Anyway, so this movie's pretty good. Definitely check it out. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. It's above average, but it's not amazing. It's not super good, but definitely not as good as the previous one. But if you like the other Tremors movies, or if you like the first Tremors movie, you'll probably like this one. Alright, folks. Good night.